Welcome to Dandelion Breeze Audio Book Drive Podcast. Planting seed while you read. Trademark copyright 2020 by Kimberly Ann. A Fallen Whispers. Trademark copyright 2003 by Kimberly. Short story. Copyright June 4th, 2024 by Kimberly. "Summer is here!" shouted Sally and Melton. What plans they had for a spectacular season! They would play summer league ball, take swim lessons, play safe pranks on their young brother and sisters. Life was planned. But Sally and Melton had no idea what this summer would really come to mean to each one of them. They neither one had any idea. The alarm startled Melton awake. He had barely gotten any sleep as he focused his eyes to read the time on the alarm clock. It read 8 a.m. Good thing school was out for summer break, or he would have been late for class. As he began to become more awake and alert, he remembered what had happened last night. He and some of his buddies had driven out to the creek. They were doing a little fishing off the bank, but the water was too low. The heat of the summer had already dried up much of the creek water. So they waded around in the water barefoot, catching crawdads and tiny frogs and minnows, until Tommy, one of Melton's friends, took off running, feet splashing in the water, and he fell when his ankle twisted as the heel of his foot got stuck between two large rocks at the bottom of the creek bed. Then Melton, Bobby, and Sammy helped carry and support Tommy back to the car and drove him to the hospital. It was scary at first to realize all we were doing was having fun, and then someone is hurt. All of us are in the same grade. 2 of us are 16 years old, and the other 2 are 15. But in a month's time, they'll be 16 too. We all were worried Tommy broke his ankle. But once the doctor looked at the x-ray, he said it is a really bad sprain, and Tommy will be on crutches for 3 to 4 weeks. Wow, there goes most of the summer. We had planned. What now? Tommy tried to tell us to go on without him. Don't let my injury, he said, stop you from doing all we had planned for this summer. But the other boys just didn't want to do any of the stuff they planned without Tommy. What fun would that be? The 4 of them had always done most everything together. You didn't see one without the others. As Melton, Bobby, and Sammy rode home from the hospital, they tried to think of new things they could do that would include Tommy. The first week, Tommy had to stay off his leg and foot completely, keeping it slightly raised when sitting. This would help with swelling and pain. So the boys planned card tricks and board games to play at Tommy's house, till he was able to start moving around some. As the days and weeks passed by and Tommy's ankle and foot got better, they were able to go outside. At one time, just for fun, the guys pulled Tommy in a little red wagon so he wouldn't have to use his crutches. Like when they were all 10 years old, pushing and pulling each, taking turns to ride down the hill in the same little red wagon, and then have to pull it uphill for the next one's turn. Except this time, they weren't riding downhill. They were just pulling and pushing Tommy around the park. Something to do with Tommy and to get out of his chair, out of his house. As all four boys laughed and hollered going round and round at the park in the little red wagon, they all stopped and looked. When who did they see? But Sally. Remember Sally? Sammy quietly said, "Hey, Melton, isn't that Sally Barnett?" Melton sadly shook his head. Yes. And he turned away, not knowing whether he should say hi to her. It had been 6 years since the last day he saw her, when they both had shouted, "Summer is here!" Sally and Melton and the other boys had not seen each other till today. Then Bobby asked, "I wonder what she is doing here. Where has she been?" The boys shrugged their shoulders, except Melton. Melton knew, but he never told anyone. It was getting late, so all the boys took Tommy back home, and they each one went their own way to their house, except Melton. Melton took the long way home, walking down the path he and Sally ran and played on so many times in their young lives. Memories came back of that last day when summer was here. He could hear himself and Sally shout. He remembered they didn't play summer league ball that summer. They didn't take swim lessons either, nor fun, safe pranks were played on their brothers and sisters. Instead, Sally's parents told her they had to move away. "Grandma needs our family to move in with her to help around the house." Sally's grandma had become ill and could no longer take care of herself, let alone a large family home. So Sally moved away within a few days of shouting, "Summer is here!" When you're 10 years old, you don't think about writing to your friends. It just feels like you lost something and you never find it again. But here Melton stood on the path him and Sally had walked and played on all through grade school. And now they each were in high school. Would Sally even remember Melton after 6 years of being gone? The path that he walked went right past his house and on down to the house that had sat empty these past 6 years. But when he got to the end of the path, the house that had sat so empty was lit up almost as bright as a Christmas tree, just not in colored lights, only bright white ones. And there, on the porch swing, was Sally reading a book. About the time Milton turned to walk back to his house, he heard a shout. "Summer's here!" And with that, Milton knew Sally had not forgotten him. Boy, is this going to be the best summer yet. End of short story. Summer's here. Thank you for joining Dandelion Breeze Audio Book Drive Podcast. Planting seed while you read. See you next time.